What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Courting. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. I wanted to cover this. I don't know how people are going to feel about it, but I'm covering it, from a position of like, look, the hatch has been buried, and I'm actually trying to be like, go at this from a positive perspective. I know a lot of my viewers were mad yesterday, and I believe they have every right to be with me saying, okay, look, all is forgiven. Let's move forward. I think that people have every right to feel that the way they do, and many of you let me know that like you weren't loving that, I had just, forgiven him and said move on. But allow me to explain where I'm coming from, because now what I suspected would happen now has happened. Um, I still think that Tim's show is a massive net positive in our space, and I've shared my grievances with him publicly and privately now. And I think that I was fine saying, look, whatever will be, will be. People that wanted to unsubscribe from him clearly did. People that wanted to unsubscribe from me did. And, it is what it is. But last night, Tim, I think, he covered the Eliza Blue stuff on his show, and he seemed to be fine to talk about it. He said a lot of kind things about a lot of people, including myself, people said. And that was kind of him. He didn't have to. He said his bit, apologized, and moved on. But there is, I'm still human. And like, I see he's taking a lot of heat still. I feel like, look, he addressed it. I know we can, people aren't happy with how long it took, or maybe, but like, he addressed it. But now it seems like, this bizarre thread, he's talking about retirement, hanging up the show. And I can only, I respect his position. The guy's worked extremely hard over the years, and he's probably built up enough of a passive income that he can do that. Maybe he'll just bring someone in else to host his show so it can continue on. I don't know exactly what he's talking about here, but I sent him some messages about, take some time. Maybe you're just kind of overwhelmed. And he seemed pretty resolved, to be honest with you. He seemed, he had just taken a vacation, and so I wanted to propose some alternatives for Tim, because I don't want to lose his show. I don't want to not acknowledge some of my viewers' feelings too. Like, I think it's tough. The first time, I want to acknowledge this. I think that as a creator, you're going to always kind of run a risk of making people angry. This may be kind of the first time Tim has ever like made his own group of people mad at him, and it seems to be having an immense toll on him. He has said that that's not what it is, and he doesn't care about that. And I can only take him at his word. But I know, as someone who has, seen that sub count drop down, seen people, unfollowing in mass, it's not a good feeling. It makes you like question a lot, especially when it's coming from people that you think or you felt like are your allies over the years. But then he put out this thread this morning, and I'm sure he specifically doesn't like, people covering the things he does, but that's what I do. I defend Tim Pool when he needs defending, and I criticize him when he needs, like, I cover everybody. I've made videos about Dankula. I've made videos about Bering. These are my friends too. I've made videos about Sydney Watson. She's my friend. I just make videos about everyone. People who are friends with me should know that, and not be offended. So, it is what it is. But he wrote, I realized last night that there is a radical misalignment between my values and many of the largest culture warriors. Now, I do want to put what preceded this was saying, he put out a poll that said, should I shut down Timcast and retire? And, a lot of people said, like, hey, maybe he's just memeing. Maybe he's just, I don't know, because his show seemed totally fine last night. He seemed fine to me. But then after the show, he's talking about retiring. And then he put out this thread, the threats, the revenge stuff, etc. People are not willing to stand up for their businesses, schools, and stop bad things from happening to kids. But they will break the law because of a single woman they don't like. I'm not sure. He's obviously referring to Eliza Blue here. I don't know what law he's talking about that people would break, but I digress. We have passive viewers and fighters. The fighters won't fight mostly the machine, but they will fight for drama. The passive viewers agree, but they don't fight. Generally, not absolutely. It sounds like he's disillusioned. It sounds like he is feeling like, man, why does everyone care about this thing that I don't care about so much? And it's bothering him. And I understand that. I do. I have some advice. I think, Tim may or may not watch this, but if there's a clip, that I would like to get to Tim so that he could hear, I'll share that. But I want to get through his opinions here. Videos just about me get more interest than war, economics, culture, and revolution. That's just not true. Right now, it's hot because you're kind of caught up in all this virality, the content cycle. But by Monday, the content cycle will have moved on. He says, I'm not interested in drama. I agree. I believe him when he says that. Fame or money. I'm interested in worldly affairs. I 100% believe that. This is why I used to travel around. But it seems most people either won't stand up or are only interested in the drama. Obviously, some people have started fighting back, running for office, making cultural content, and more. But the real energy isn't there. No one to defend us on our principles. Just people hiding from the fight when drama psychos come out. People can reply to this thread saying I'm wrong or whatever, but that's exactly my point, a misalignment of values. Beyond that, there is also a glaringly obvious problems. People want to come on the show for fame and influence. People beg me for money, for retweets, for recognition. I don't know who he's talking about there. I can't even fathom a guess. I suspect people maybe do ask him to be on the show. It's highly possible. I can tell you, I never have, but I don't know who he's talking about there. But I don't doubt it. That's the power machine. Lots of people watch, so people want to come on the show. It's reality. It's sad. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with people wanting to get their message out, I would think. But I think Tim's really black-pilled right now. This has all grown way out of proportion to what I ever wanted to do, and I'm no leader, no general. I just want to read the news and learn about how the world works. Talking about it was a byproduct of wanting to experience it. And it just keeps growing. The expansion seems infinite, and it seems like a mistake. I've talked about these repeatedly in the past year, especially with the everything bad going on, the swatting, the burglaries, the stalkers. The stalking really gets me. He's calling people making videos about him stalking, I think, unless he's talking about like a real life one. People crying to be let in, former employees centering their whole lives around me. He does have that going on. Okay, so that is true. It's crazy. For what reason the level of obsession some people have with me terrifies me, not because I fear for my own safety, but because I worry about human priorities. Fair. There are people built for this type of life, but it ain't me. Obviously, I constantly break all the rules of PR. People simultaneously demand that I don't bow to the mob, but also I'm arrogant for not doing what the mob says. I think that's a fair feeling, understanding his current situation. In the last year, I've been swatted 15 times. I think it's related to stalkers of mine and former employees. I agree with him. We have had a few burglaries that if I choose to prosecute will result in collateral damage to my business and properties because of how the law works. One person tried burglarizing my studio to get James O'Keefe and Annie No's home address. Long story, but yep. Either we pay legal fees to block it or we drop the charges. It was a trick. The amount of back-end stuff that goes into making this machine work is a bit crazy, and it seems too much for me. What I ask, what is the end goal? What is a fight for? More rage bait, more fake news, more lying celebrities, more personalities saying that they think what the mob wants to hear, more politicians proposing nothing, trading stocks, lying on the news, like AOC talking about the Boston hospital. Humans, am I right? How many times will Democrats propose reparations? How many years will we debate term limits? The cycle never seems to end. It seems to suck up a new generation to debate the same stuff that the humans forgot they already debated. At a certain point, I just say stop and say, I've talked about this 73 times, WTF, but I'm over it now. I look forward to being some old man. The kids are like, old man Poole once bought a billboard in Times Square, and then I yell, get off my property. I think he's entirely...
Can I get a count?
Damn it. I think he's entirely it's entirely his right to feel this way, to feel um a little dismal about the future. But if I could say, anything directly to him, and I guess this is how I have to do it, and is like, it's not, I think it's fundamentally, it's not necessarily about winning. It's about moving the needle. And, the fact that Timcast IRL gets 1 million views a day or whatever it is, 40, 50,000 people live, means you are moving the needle. You are making change, and people are getting out there and fighting. Maybe it's not as many people as you want, and maybe we're not winning on every single cultural issue, but I think that it's fair to say tides have turned. We've seen unprecedented level of data access in the past 6 months alone, between the Twitter files, between everything that O'Keefe has brought to light. I think that there is making progress in this battle, and to a certain degree, yeah, we're pushing the rock up the hill only to let the rock fall back down and push it right back up. But the hope is that you don't have to start from all the way at the bottom every time. And then when you pass the torch eventually, they get a little easier path and a little easier path and a little easier path. People do fight. And people are out there voting differently. I know that because of Tim's content and others like him, I've thought more critically about the way I vote. I've gotten more, like, I can say specifically, I never cared about voting for state representatives before. I never voted in midterms until I started consuming Tim's type of content, before I started creating my own type of content. That's a real change. People that watch me, I guarantee the same thing, that they never voted in midterms, but they voted in their very first midterm this past year. It is making a difference. It is making a change. I think that if you view it through the lens of winning, then you are doomed to be blackpilled. You are doomed to feel like nothing you do matters. But if you view it through the lens that I do, and that is making progress, changing minds, creating alternatives. Look at all that's been done fighting big tech. Now there's Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey, 3 nice alternatives. Rumble's, a very real alternative to YouTube in presenting it that. There are good things that are happening. It's just, I think if you're looking for the one big victory, it's just never going to come. It's about the battles along the way in the war. And so, I hope that maybe Tim just takes a sabbatical or something like that. Take some time, and it's interesting. I think he's feeling pretty negative right now, and I think that he should be positive and be thankful for the shift. It's hard to feel sometimes, but it's there. And if you read your comment sections, it is there. And you read your emails, things like that. If you need to make a change, I can't imagine the grind he's on, the 4 or 5 videos a day plus the show at night. Maybe just drop doing the videos every day and just only do the show. If you're talking about repeatedly covering the same thing all the time, maybe just save it for the show so only you talk about it once a day instead of twice. Maybe take Fridays off, altogether. Take Fridays off. No show, no videos. And it will help reduce this feeling of repetition, I think. I think you're doing a good thing funding I saw you help fund a documentary or presented a documentary, Lauren Southern did. Do more of these things that maybe feel better. I just think some subtle changes can really go a long way, as opposed to just throwing up your hands. I think that you're a voice in your program, and everybody that's on your program, not just Tim, but all the other people, Ian and others, it's important that you maintain your position and that you don't let this get you to give up, because there is good positive change happening. It just sometimes is hard to see. I hope that you take that message to heart, and I hope that my viewers, if they're feeling the same way, I hope that meant something to you too. And yeah, it's been a wild February, but it's only February. We've got a lot of stuff going on this year, and we got to strap in for a fight that just never ends, and I'm here for it, and I hope you are too.